Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. My niece asked me, why aren't you married? And so, a lot of things flash in my head, what to say to her. Women are unaccountable. They're uninterested in me. Or it could be something, simpler, like I'm a sexist and I'm a jerk and I'm very difficult to love and stuff like that. So the only thing that popped in my head was a Lynyrd Skynyrd song. And so I said to her, do you know that song, Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd? And she said, yeah, I know that song. And so I said, it has the line, be a simple man, be a simple kind of man, be someone you can love and understand. And she said, yeah. I said, well, I knew at an early age that isn't me. That song is not about me. And so I kind of accepted that, I don't want to be a simple man. I want to be complex. You'll see throughout the show. I want to be intelligent. I want to be smart. And so and that's going to put a lot of pitfalls in my way. After all, the song Simple Man is like, it's easier to, find love. It's easier if you're dumb. So I just left it at, that song is not about me. Everything else that I said, that's just for you. That's stuff I wanted to say. Anyway, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, your host. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. Or you can send me cash through the Cash App. Hashtag is Shock Monkey Radio, all one word. You can also follow me on social media over there. I'm kidding. I didn't have that conversation with my niece. She's just like a literary element, something I could throw in so you can say. It was like, oh, and you say, and so I was talking to my niece. Or you bring in, it's like, I was saying this to my niece, and like, you're talking to a child that way. And that's kind of the joke, That's the benefit of having a niece. Thanks, sis. Thanks for having a niece. That gives me more joke opportunities. But one day she's gonna watch this channel, and then she's gonna know the answer. It's like, oh, that's why he's not married. I hope I die without ever having to get into another fight. And I think I've started feeling that way after my very first fight. After my very first fight, I was like, I hope I die without ever having to do that again. I hate it. I hate it, even though I've won most of the fights I've been in, and most of the fights I lost were the early ones. And I'm not bragging, What I'm saying is that I understand that it's mostly luck that's the way it's played out. It's not a matter of my skill, and certainly I have some skill, but I mean, it's a matter of luck, and I know that. I understand that about fighting, and it could easily go very badly for me. It's just, I've been lucky. I've been very lucky to get very minimally injured, if at all, in fights. I think the last time I got punched in the face was like 1988. The last fight I got into was 10, 15 years ago? EK? You were there for that one. About 10, 15 years ago? And yeah, I mean, I came up under his arms and grabbed him by the throat and threw him to the ground, and he was trying to grab at my face. And so when you do, that's why you grow up under the arms, because you could just push your arms up and it gives him a harder angle. All I could do is like pull my glasses off and scratch around my eyes. It was pathetic. But he was way more inebriated than me. And being the kind of guy that I am, I might go to bars and I'm going to stand up for what is right, no matter where I go. And so I fear that I may have to get into a fight again one day. And the older I get, the more I think I'm going to lose the next one. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes I think about these things because I know I'm always going to be me, and I'm not going to let somebody shove a friend of mine. I'm not going to let somebody mistreat a woman in front of me. I'm going to stand up for what's right. And I know there are conditions in which I will fight, but I hope I don't ever have to do it again. It's not fun. It's not fun. And every time I see people on the streets and they're like shout, people on streets.
It's a call, right?
Well, you gave up on it. That's the terror of knowing what this world is about.
You know, I do that because of you.
Because of me, because I love Queen.
I hear the phrase. Every time I hear the phrase,
people on the streets, you go, Adidode. Well, I gotta admit that for my language, because you keep interrupting with stuff like that.
I'm sorry.
Maybe that should be a drop. You pull up a clip.
Every time you say
people on the streets,
I'll press the sample.
I forgot what I was talking about. You see these people on the streets. That's all right. You see these people on the streets, and they're like getting to or like talking trash, like they're about to fight. Then a fight starts, and they're very surprised. They're very shocked that it happened, and it just makes me wonder, like, how many of you have ever been punched in the face? You know, I think people, like kids, should fight. You should know how it hurts, and how you shouldn't escalate to that point, you know, because no matter what, win or lose, you may be hurt, or in most of my cases, I've hurt somebody else and I felt bad about what I did, and I start second guessing what I did. So either way, it's a terrible experience. It's just when, you know, you can't just like go looking for that, and everybody who goes looking for that and finds it, you have no right to be surprised. And so it's weird seeing these people on the streets. I saw this one video today of a cop. this teenager just getting in this cop's face. The cop is like 6'5". The teenager's like 5'7" or something like that. Getting in this cop's face, and this cop's just like, are you serious? Really? You're talking this trash to me? And then just sweeps the guy's leg and throws him to the ground. Like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Like immediately. You know, you got to be careful with talking trash. I think Mike Tyson said there's not enough people who've been punched in the face. And, you know, you don't have to be punched in the face by Mike Tyson to experience how bad it could be. Although that would probably be worse. When you get silence for a second or a swig of water, that means it's a segue. I've been thinking about Superman. And like how Superman can up his like intimidation factor. Alex Ross. Anyway. And I was thinking about how, like, say, like North Korea starts massing troops on the border. You know, the little neutral zone, demilitarized zone there between the border, North Korea and South Korea. And Superman hears about it. You know, he works at the Daily Planet, so he'll. Oh, sorry, Superman. So he hears about it, reading newspapers like the Daily Planet, that North Korean troops are massing near the border. So Superman flies to the presidential palace there in Pyongyang and just starts hovering there. And he looks at the troops over by the border. A bunch of North Koreans are, Superman. You know, they're pointing at Superman, and he's just folding his arms, staring at the presidential palace. Maybe Kim Jong, whatever his name is, comes out, takes a look at him. It's like, oh, shoot him. So they shoot at him. Bing, 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 bing. And Superman's just sitting there, and he just turns and looks towards the troops with his telescopic vision. They start getting closer and closer to the border, and then Superman just starts slowly moving closer and closer and closer to this presidential palace. And soon enough, he's like 6 feet. You know, people are jumping up, like grabbing his feet and just dangling there for a while, trying to pull him out of the sky, but he's just stoically standing there. Then he turns and looks at the troops. The troops getting a little closer, and Superman just moves a little bit closer. As those troops get closer, you know, they're shooting at him all the time now. They're coming out with like machine guns at point blank range on Superman. Bullets bouncing off like about the people getting hit of the ricochets, and Superman's just sitting there saying, probably in North Korean or in Korean or whatever, that you're just hurting yourselves. You know, this is just going to go badly for you. Then he looks and checks on the troops. They start closing into the demilitarized zone. Superman starts pushing through the wall of the presidential palace slowly. So there's like a 2-minute period where it's just Superman's face against the wall, and then the wall slowly crumbles, and then Superman's in the presidential palace, and he's just stoically standing there, flying, heading closer and closer to Kim Jong-un. What's his name? Kim Jong-il now? Kim Jong-un? Il? And then, as soon as Superman starts hearing shots going off over at the demilitarized zone, heat vision. Vaporize everybody in the room. Wouldn't that be scarier than Superman just showing up, like Kim Jong-il, like hang up the phone, send them into the demilitarized zone, hangs up the phone, and then Superman's there. which is scarier? The slow, deliberate Superman or the Superman's immediately there about to kick your ass? After all, it could be a bit of a deterrent. Superman, after all, is like 800 aircraft carriers pulling up outside of Pyongyang. You know what I mean? Anyway, I was thinking about that. Like, if just Superman stalked you, wouldn't that be creepy? Like, who would stop him? Who could stop him? And I think that's whole, like, that's all of Lex Luthor's raison d'etre, his reason for living, is it's like, who can stop this guy? I got to figure out a way. Even if it means I get irradiated. Segue. So I'm super glad it's going to be a long time before I have to review another Super Star Trek movie. You can take Superman away. We did a bunch of Star Trek movies over the past couple weeks, haven't we? I'm glad it's going to be a long time before I do another one. I am a Trekkie. I like it, but it wears on my nerves after a while. And one of the aspects that wears my nerves is the cleanliness. The cleanliness of Star Trek world is ridiculous. It's absurd. And a lot of those older series, like in the 60s and 70s that did sci-fi stuff, they portrayed the future in this kind of like sterile world, like Buck Rogers and Lost in Space and stuff like that. They portrayed all these starships and stuff like that incredibly clean, and you never see one Roomba. All right, so you don't know who's doing this cleaning. All right, and when you walk through the halls or go into the quarters of people in a Star Trek movie or episode, it's immaculate. It's incredibly clean. And then George Lucas came along and created the Star Wars universe, which is a very lived-in universe. And when you get on when you are introduced to the vehicle, the Millennium Falcon, and you see Luke Skywalker, say, what a piece of junk. And you're right, it does look like a junker. It does look like a junky ship. Han made a bunch of special modifications. It's his ship. And you go into the Millennium Falcon, and there's like dice hanging over the... It looks like it's been lived in. And George Lucas wanted to create that, where a space is a lived-in world. And I think Firefly did a better job at that in terms of like creating a place where it's like, this is a ship. This is where you live. This is where you work. All your stuff's going to be laying around. All right. When you if you go to a workstation at your office, go to somebody else's workstation in your office and look at all the crap that's around their desk, their keyboard, and so forth like that. Look at all that stuff. Now imagine it in space, because that's what it would be like. All right? I was in the Navy. You take your stuff with you. All right? But we had inspections and stuff like that. And I'll come back to that. And so your workstations would be like Wash's workstation, where he's got dinosaurs and stuff hanging around. Because that's what workstations are like. That's what people are like. And so it would be like that in space. But every time somebody gets up, it's like, Sulu, you're with me. And Sulu gets up, somebody else comes down the console, and it's like he didn't have a water bottle with him. He didn't have to, take his keys out. Or they don't use keys in the future. You know what I mean? People have possessions. People have dirty workstations. All right? And Star Trek is unrealistic in that way. And it irritates me. I don't know why it irritates me. I think it's because I was in the Navy. And because I was in the Navy, you'd had to have inspections of your rooms. All right? And I remember I got a gig for having a spoon in the sink. The spoon was clean, but it was sitting in the sink. It should have been put away. And that was the only thing that dinged me on. You know what I mean? And I had to keep my room pretty clean. Mostly I just shoveled everything in the closet, locked that up. Done deal. You can leave the laptop out, you make the bed and so forth. No big deal. But when you look at the quarters of people in Star Trek universe, they're immaculate. They're spotless. It makes me wonder what the room inspections are like on the USS Enterprise. How fascist are they? Do they get like white gloves and go in the corners and stuff like that? Dust in the corners, Ensign. No, dust in the corners, Lieutenant. We're going to demote you to Ensign. Or they take you to the whipping room. Or they put you in a hollow chamber. What are they called? The holodeck? Yeah, holodeck. That's a desert program. and leave you in there for 18 days. How fascist must they be to keep those rooms that clean? Or is it just like I was in the Navy? They just all with inspections and everything gets shoved in the closet. They're like, oh, Captain Kirk's coming. And like, oh, well, I'm going to shove everything in the closet and pretend to meditate because I'm Leonard Nimoy. And that's what irritates me about Star Trek the most, is that it's not the most, but a lot of it is like, it's so unrealistic. Everything is too clean. I even like that in, what was that movie? Galaxy Quest? They clearly wanted the licensing, but they didn't get it. And so there's a scene where Fred Kwan, played by, what's his name? Brilliant actor. I'm blanking on his name. He's walking around. He's clearly stoned, and he's looking at the floors. They're so clean. And he's right. In the Star Trek universe, it's absurdly clean. Not one Roomba to be seen. Is that right? Is that Roomba the little sweeper thing? See, I use brooms, vacuum cleaners. It's like those Roombas, you gotta. So let me get this straight. I plug it in. I got to clean it every day, and it takes like 6 hours to do like a half an hour of vacuuming. It's ridiculous. Anyway. All right, another segue. Here comes the water. It's ridiculously hot today. Yeah. It's hot in Virginia today, ladies and gentlemen. Gavin McInnes said something a while back about E.T., the extraterrestrial, the movie, the Spielberg movie. He said that, that movie takes place in the 80s, and for the 80s kids like me and him, if you ran across E.T. in the 80s, the most realistic thing that would happen is you'd be like, throw rocks at it, kill it. And that should have been the story of E.T. Some kid, we found some weird creature in the woods. And then the government comes in, takes the body, and off to, Area 51 or whatever with it. That's the end of the story. Because that's what it was like in the 80s. And it's probably a good idea. If you see a creature that looks like E.T., probably a good idea to start throwing rocks and whip rocks at it and kill it. Because that's what we did in the 80s. You couldn't pull out your cell phone and take video of it, And no one would believe you. No one would believe you. You'd come home and you'd tell your brother, and your brother would be like, oh, maybe it's some sort of weirdo or perverted kid. Or maybe it's a dwarf or a leprechaun. Well, it's nothing like that, penis breath. And so that's the idea. You should kill the alien. Because what? It probably wants to eat us. Or have sex with us. Anyway, probably a good idea. And so I was wondering, it's like, if you're a 90s kid and not an 80s kid, think about it more like this way. Say you're walking along, you're hiking in the forest, and you see this blue hedgehog, and you're like, oh, that's a weird looking hedgehog. Then the hedgehog curls into a ball and starts spinning really fast. And you're like, what the hell is going on? Then, boom, just shoots off, flies up off a rock, and starts flying straight up in the air, and a couple, bumps into a tree, and you see like a couple of rings fall down. And you're like, what the hell did I just see? You would immediately go back to the house, get your breech loader shotgun, put a couple of shells in your pocket, and it's like, we got to go kill this sonic hedgehog. And if you do see a hedgehog that does that, you should probably kill it. I know people are like, well, we should experiment on it and stuff like that. Or worse, it's like, madman, you're just so cruel. You want to kill anything that's strange. And it's like, yeah, if it's that strange, yeah. Yeah, that's a mutant hedgehog that needs to be put an end to. Because if that hedgehog breeds, they're going to have more and more. You're going to have Knuckles. You're going to have all the two-tailed nonsense that they have in those mutant creatures. Look at this thing. If you saw that thing, you should kill it. Especially if it speaks to you. It's like the Chronicles of Narnia. That's why those wardrobes only allowed British kids in. Because if American kids went in their closet, they come back out, they grab daddy's shotgun, and they come in and start shooting mutant animals everywhere that talk to them. Maybe I'm just American, or maybe I just know that kind of thing is a dangerous thing if you see it in real life. Now, ask yourself, what's more probable, running into E.T. or running into Sonic the Hedgehog? I don't know. And it boomers, you boomers out there, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, let me ask you something. If you saw a mouse wearing clothes and a cape and could lift heavy objects that a mouse shouldn't be lifting, and he can fly around and punches things, wouldn't you think it's a good idea that humans should kill Mighty Mouse? You should kill Mighty Mouse. You should kill Sonic the Hedgehog, and you should kill E.T. Those of you crying is like, why do you kill all these creatures? They're fictional creatures. You can kill fictional creatures all day long. People ask me about my books. What's going to happen to that character? I'll probably kill them because I can. They're characters. That's what you can do. You can do anything you want with them. We are going to do one movie review. And it's lighthearted. Let's do Walk of Shame. The 2014 Elizabeth Banks movie, Walk of Shame. Good-looking woman. EK and I were just talking earlier about that she's a good-looking woman, but I don't think she's like leading lady kind of material. She looked great in that dress. It's a great dress. Elizabeth Banks, Walk of Shame. How could I? It's kind of a good movie if you want to like watch with a date. You want to Netflix and chill with a girlfriend or something like that. You got to deal with the fact that it's a little slutty. Everyone's real horny in this movie. And I don't know, it's a little bit too like slut, a little too promiscuous, the movie, a little bit too club culture-y. And the whole idea is that this girl she's a reporter at the local news station. That's why she's on the bench there. She works at the news station, so people recognize her in the movie. And she wants to go out one night. She hooks up with a guy, and apparently all her friends do too, because that's what girls do, I suppose. And she ends up someplace like in a real rough neighborhood. And she wakes up and tries to sneak out and go home, but she doesn't know where she is. She doesn't have her phone. All that. Hilarity ensues. It's a very simple premise for a movie. It's quite a shallow movie. However, normally I wouldn't talk about a movie like this unless I was impressed with something. And believe it or not, it's not Elizabeth Banks. I'm not impressed with her. What I was impressed with is the writing and the design of every single character. Every single character in that movie was incredibly well fleshed out in terms of how they react, just like the things they say, and their motivations. Every single character. I mean, and that's kind of important when it comes to a good comedy, because especially one of those adventure comedies where you keep going like to person, and you keep running. You can get a whole bunch of like small cameos from a bunch of people, and they have like one scene. It's where they come in for one day of work, boom, and you just have to nail this one comedic line perfectly, and they do. And it's so many characters. All like every single character in this movie was like that. It was very, very good. Because, like, for example, I'll give you one example. I don't want to ruin it because a lot of it, is part of the humor. There's one example. It's like she dialed this tip line to her news station. It's the only number she could remember. So she goes to a payphone and dials this tip line at her studio. And the guy who's sitting on there on the tip line, probably the lowest of the low intern at the station and so forth, had enough. And everything about that comes through in his character. And so she calls the tip line and it's like, oh, it's me, could you... He's like, no, it's not you. I know for a fact she's here, or something like. She wouldn't be if you were her. You wouldn't be calling this number. And so he's very irritated with this stranger who claims to be one of the employees there, and he just gives her an earful because he's tired of her nonsense. It's great. It's incredibly interesting about how that character, completely different from whatever else is happening in this movie, is having his own shitty day. You know what I mean? And I think that makes for good comedy. Yeah, I don't want to give away too much of it because it is. There are some pretty good jokes. I don't want to spoil them because when people spoil a comedy's jokes, like the best jokes, that is the worst. If you come out of it like a movie and you said it's like. It was okay, but the funniest joke where everyone else was laughing and I wasn't was because some friend explained to me the funniest part of the movie. I hate that. So I'm trying not to give any of the jokes away. And it is pretty impressive for such a shallow film. It is very shallow. Because it's like everyone's so horny. It's like even the guy in the cab is like, you give Dance on Lap 3 songs. Anyway, I don't want to spoil the jokes. 9 of 13 stars, walk of shame. Your rating might be lower because you've seen me praise it. And my rating may be high because I expected absolutely nothing from an Elizabeth Banks movie. All right, let's get into the news worth knowing. News worth knowing. Uh-oh. I had the video running in the background, so the computer. All right. VP Harris mocked for being too scared to do interview without walls. She simply cannot be left unattended. Which is probably true. The announcement that Vice President Kamala Harris's first formal sit-down interview as a 2024 presidential candidate will be done with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, by her side, was met with mockery online. CNN on Tuesday revealed that Dana Bash would be taping a joint interview with Harris and Walz as they campaign in Georgia on Thursday to be broadcast that night. It will mark the first time that she has given a formal interview to the press since President Biden stepped out of the race and became the nominee 38 days ago. Speckles on my spectacles. However, the news that Harris's first interview will be alongside Walz with a sympathetic host in the network was seen as an admission to that the vice president, infamous for word salads, is incapable of doing an extended media appearance on her own. Republican Senator Josh Hawley, hero of the Republic, communications director Abigail Jackson wrote, Kamala. No, wait, this is Abigail. Oh, yeah. Oh, his communications director. My bad. Kamala needs to do a live, unedited solo press conference. She wants to be commander-in-chief, but she's too scared to do an interview without Walz by her side. Girl power, am I right? Joe Biden can't get this is another quote from Sean Davis, Federalist. Joe Biden can't get into a car or up a flight of stairs without a handler, and apparently Kamala Harris can't even talk to a CNN reporter by herself. Embarrassing. Yeah, so there's a lot of comments of what people are saying about it. All right, yeah, it's like they know, the Democrats know that she's a moron, and they're okay with it because they can manipulate, they can control a moron, and that's why they're okay with it. I mean, it seems really simple for me. I don't know why people are so confused about all this, and they don't want her to be on her own. They don't trust her because she's like I said, she's a moron, and she's just like she leans on smart phrases, you know what I mean? Like phrases that people think are smart sounding in what you said in regards to, or in terms of. That's the one. She says in terms of a lot. It's like, it doesn't make you seem smarter, you know. And I think a lot of people can see through this. I think a lot of people can see through this. I know the polls say a lot of stuff like she's leading. I don't know. I see a lot of these people on the street coming up and they're like Trump or Harris, and people are like Trump. And it's like, and then you give these people who are Harris supporters, like, what do you like? What of her policies do you like? I like that she's a woman. That's usually the answer you get. It's nothing substantial because she's done nothing substantial. And I think that most everybody who's intelligent can see that. We'll see. People are dumb. All right. Kamala Harris was the border czar, you know. Anyway, let's go to this next story. Sanctuary cities' policies push violent migrant gang into the suburbs, and it's a nationwide problem. Although Denver suburbs don't share its sanctuary city policies, the influx of migrants into the Mile High City has spilled outward. Now downhill, I guess. Now its neighbors are facing an unprecedented wave of activity from a notorious Venezuelan prison gang. Officials, they're a prison gang in a country where they actually put criminals in prison. But because they're outside of prison, because we don't put criminals in prison anymore, They're a prison gang that's outside of the prison, which is bad. I don't know if you know that. Anyway, that's bad. Okay. All right. Officials from Aurora, about 9 miles east of Denver, told Fox News Digital the Tren de Aragua gang, forgive me, has gained a strong foothold in their city, commandeering apartment complexes and drumming up violent crime and sex trafficking. Yeah, just the idea of drumming up a bunch of Hispanic guys out there, Venezuelan guys, banging drums. Bring out your sex trafficking. Violent crime, sex trafficking. Quote, we currently have entire complexes under gang control, complexes where staff have been beaten up, they've been threatened, their families have been threatened, and complexes where there's no staff left on the property. Aurora City Council member Danielle Jurinsky said these complexes are being run by the Tren de Aragua group. They start brokering apartments themselves when someone leaves out of fear or whatever. They go in and take pictures of the apartments themselves. Then I've been told within hours a Venezuelan family moves in. Parts of the city are absolutely under this gang control. The local media is downplaying this, she said. I believe politics is being played with people's lives. Nothing is being done to help the American citizens that are being trapped under this gang's control. Jurinsky told Fox News Digital calls for emergency services have been on the rise, especially in light of the strapped police department. The number of emails coming in to me for help from residents and business owners, the volume is much higher. The allegations being made about gang activity are types of crime that I've not heard of on a regular basis in our city. Yeah, so like new stuff. It was like, wow, people do that to other people? Yeah. Suspected members of the gang are accused of a series of high-profile crimes across the United States, including the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley and the shooting of 2 NYPD officers during an arrest in June. Its leaders have recently given the green light for its members nationwide to shoot members of law enforcement who attempt to interfere with their criminal activity, even in Denver. Whew. Should I read on? I don't think I should read on. You know, you gotta deal with crime. It's not an easy job, you know. Even when like crime, I don't know, you can look back at the 80s or the 90s and say, hey, that was a pretty good time. It's like crime was a lot lower than it is now. You know, but even then it was a constant fight. It's always been a constant fight to keep the forces of evil at bay. And when you start letting these criminals across the borders, you know, coming into our country, doing their gang shit, you know, it's going to start hurting. It already has started hurting and killing American citizens. Yeah, I know you have all these idiots out there. It's like, no human being is illegal. It's like criminals are illegal. If you're a criminal, you're illegal. I'm sorry. Especially and when you cross a border illegally, that makes you a criminal and that makes you an illegal. You're an illegal immigrant and we need to boot your ass out of this country because what's been going on in Central and South America is they've been saying, oh, Biden's letting them in through the border, just letting them pour in. Empty our prisons. Put them on buses and send them to the border. Ship them to America, let America deal with them. And unfortunately, we've let this go on so long, and it's going to get to a point where it's going to be warfare in the streets of Aurora, Colorado. They're going to be on the streets of your city, your town. That's where the war is going to be if you want to put an end to this crime. Because we let it go too long, and now it's got to get to a serious point where you got to have guys with guns shooting these bad guys with guns. And with all these cameras everywhere these days, people are going to be crying buckets of crocodile tears. I don't know if that's a correct reference. Buckets of tears saying, oh, these poor illegal immigrants. They're coming in here and bringing crime with them. All right? And it's not like it's The Sopranos, you know what I mean? These are vicious killers. All right? I don't know why a Sopranos reference. I don't know why I thought about this. I think of maybe the Italian immigrants. It reminded me of the Italian immigrants. Sorry, EK. Sorry, Italian people. It's not personal, but there is a interesting similarity. Anyway, I'm sorry. Not really. Let's go to the next story. Massachusetts GOP demands information on the state's $1 billion in secret migrant spending. Massachusetts Republicans have submitted a formal request with the state's government for information on the alleged $1 billion in secret migrant crisis spending as the Bay State grapples with the migrant crisis. In a release from the state's Republican Party, Mass GOP, the group demanded that Governor Maura Healey's administration provides a detailed cost breakdown on the toll that the migrant crisis has caused on the state's residents. The Healey-Driscoll administration has shrouded nearly $1 billion spent in secrecy, leaving Massachusetts residents in the dark. Mass GOP Chair Amy Carnevale, said in a statement, they have withheld critical information about 600 incidents involving fire police and the EMTs. Blocking journalists at every turn, the administration has obstructed the flow of information to the public. That's what Democrats have been doing. It's a Freedom of Information Act request. Carnevale demanded of the specifics of the state's funding to provide housing for migrants. In the FOIA request, Carnevale called for the Healey administration to provide the names of the government and private entities that were providing emergency housing for migrants, where the emergency housing is located, any correspondence relating to the public safety concerns, and any incident reports or police reports. Carnevale argued that the Democrats' supermajority has created a veil of secrecy surrounding the migrant crisis. Quote, today, the Massachusetts Republican Party is standing against the veil of secrecy and the obstructionist efforts of the Healey-Driscoll administration and the Democratic supermajority. We stand with the Massachusetts Press Corps in declaring enough is enough. The public deserves transparency. Release the details on the vendors profiting from this crisis and the public safety issues affecting our communities. On behalf of Massachusetts residents, we are demanding accountability, she added. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. It's stuff like this. Not only are you letting them in the country, but you're giving them like gift cards, hotel rooms. You know what I mean? And it's all done under this Democrat idiocy. We're like, oh, we got to be nice to everybody. Get bent with that. Get bent. And this is what your liberal societies produce. You know what I mean? They're giving away your tax dollars to illegal immigrants, putting up on hotels on your dime. And what are you going to do about it? And you idiots in these cities keep voting for these Democrats, and you're wondering, well, is this all going to shit? Seen that movie Cold Mountain? Where you're like, oh shit, it's raining. They created the rain, and then they're like, oh shit, it's raining. Oh, man. One more serious one, and then we'll get into some judging other people. Trump assassination attempt victims with life-altering injuries seek accountability. It will come to light. This is exclusive to Fox News. Out of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh attorney representing two men wounded in the July 13 assassination attempt on former President Trump is seeking accountability after they were left with life-altering injuries. James Copenhaver, 74, and David Dutch, 57. Damn, those are really Pennsylvania names, aren't they? Copenhaver and Dutch. Okay. Sustained critical wounds after they were both shot twice at a rally. They should get a purple heart, too, if you ask me. Because I made fun of them. Sorry, guys. I think we're all going to get to the bottom of that here at some point, whether it's a congressional task force, through these investigations, or if we have to do we have to file a lawsuit. We'll definitely get answers through that process. Joseph Feldman, attorney at the law offices of Max C. Feldman, told Fox News Digital on Monday. His office is exploring different avenues to get accountability after the shooting that forever changed his clients' lives. Copenhaver and Dutch are both recovering from their injuries at home with their families and are on a path to recovery despite having some setbacks, Feldman said. Both victims have lingering questions about how the gunman, Thomas Crooks, was able to get onto the roof of a nearby one-story American Glass Research building to shoot Trump at about 150 yards from the candidate's podium. The building was located near a rally, but is not technically within the official perimeter. We're the United States of America, Feldman said. We pump tons of money into security resources in this country, especially dealing with the federal government. And you go to a rally and provide political support for a politician, the security is provided by the federal government, and it fails. Copenhagen and Dutch are also wondering how Crooks is able to park his vehicle and fly a drone about 200 yards from where the former president would be speaking between 3:50 p.m. and 4 that day. FBI Director Christopher Wray testified during a July 17th congressional hearing that Crooks had been at the rally site for about 70 minutes on the morning of the assassination attempt. How is the airspace not shut down? Why did the federal government not have their own drones up there to monitor the scene? For make sure that they know exactly who's coming in and out the days in advance. Feldman, who served in the U.S. Army for 7 years and spent about 1 year in Afghanistan, wondered. They also have lingering questions about who Crooks is, or the contents of his phone, or how he had access to these firearms, or a firearm, or how he had access to explosive devices. Feldman reflected on his own experience in the U.S. military. He's going to talk about himself now. House Task Force wants to hear from tipsters and whistleblowers to determine how the 20-year-old Crooks was able to climb the HVAC equipment and the piping to get on the roof of the building and hide there before the shooting began. The FBI said during a July press call that Crooks had a DPMS AR-15 style gun with a collapsible stock when he entered the area of Butler Farm Fairgrounds, where Trump's rally took place. The Trump campaign announced the Butler rally July 3rd. 3 days later, on July 6th, Crooks signed up for the event. That same day, he researched how far Lee Harvey Oswald was from President Kennedy when Oswald assassinated him in 1963. On July 7th, Crooks traveled to the rally site approximately 20 minutes in the area, according to the FBI. Crooks began shooting lessons in 2023, and he made 25 online gun purchases using an alias in the spring of 2023. In 1 year? I wonder if that's like accessories and stuff like that. I don't know. That's stuff that's relevant. That's the point. That's the whole point of this article. We should be talking about this stuff. There are people still hurting. Trump's going to be fine. But, there are people out there who took, like, real wounds. No offense to what happened to Trump. You got shot in the ear. That's somebody trying to kill you. I get it. But there's people who took deeper wounds. So we need to get to the bottom of this. And I like that one comedian. He says, is like, I saw it on Instagram. I can't remember who it was. But he's like, if our government wanted to set up an assassination attempt, isn't that what we'd get? They don't get the top of the line guy. You don't get some like Marine sniper to do it. You get some high school kid who came in last in his marksmanship team, and because it's a government operation and it's monkeys fucking a football, as we used to say in the Navy. Every time I swear, I think people are going to dislike that. And people mostly hate the blasphemy. They don't care. You can say fucking shit all day long. They don't care about that. When you blaspheme, boy, they'll let you know. All right. I want to cheer up. Do you guys want to cheer up? I want to cheer up. Let's do some happier stories. So, woman accused of brainwashing her sister's kids as she declares case for being child-free by choice. All right. A Reddit user was accused of brainwashing her sister's children by explaining why she opted against having kids and did nothing wrong. Family therapist told Fox News Digital. Am I the asshole for telling my sister's kids about the truth, why I have never had children? She posted on August 24th. In the post, she says, this woman, she's 36 and has a younger sister with 3 kids, ages 7, 5, and 3. Awesome. Quote, I'm child-free by choice, which has always been a point of contention in my family, she wrote. My sister especially has been very vocal about her belief that a woman's purpose is to be a mother, and how I'm missing out on the best part of life, she said. In the past, the woman said she ignored these comments to keep the peace, but recently her sister's oldest child apparently asked why she had chosen not to have kids. Damn it. I tried to give a vague, polite answer, but they kept pressing, saying their mom told them that I would change my mind one day because everyone does. At this point, I decided it was time for the truth, and revealed that her sister's children, that she valued her freedom and career and personal time, and that's why she didn't have kids. I explained that while some people love being parents, others find happiness in different ways, and that's okay not to have kids if that's what makes you happy. I also added that everyone's life choices are valid as long as they're happy and fulfilled. This, however, did not go over well with her sister, who overheard part of the conversation. The sister, quote, blew up at me, accusing me of trying to brainwash her kids and undermine her parenting. the woman wrote. She said that I was selfish for planting doubt in her children's minds about the importance of family. She even accused me of glamorizing a lifestyle that she feels is empty and meaningless. Later, put special eight, whatever her name is, their parents called and they sided with their sister's anger over her conversation with the children. Sided with, that's a weird way to say it, and sided with her sister's anger over her conversation. The woman shared in her post. They said I should have just humored the kids and deflected the question, that I owed my sister an apology for causing unnecessary drama. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I did anything wrong. I was honest, respectful, and gave a balanced perspective, and I'm tired of making me feel like my life choices are lesser and need to be hidden just to avoid conflict. I believe it's important for kids to know there's different paths in life, and not all of them involve having children. Am I the asshole? Well, there's plenty of assholes to go around. I don't know if you've been around this world. Lots and lots of assholes. And there's two of them right there. There's you and your sister. You're both assholes. All right. I think I'm on your sister's side. I think you are making a mistake by not having children. I think that women should be mothers. Men should be fathers. And that men should be married to women and do that together. I think that's our purpose. I think that's what we do as human beings. And being child-free by choice, you're going to be miserable one day. You're going to be. Because your niece is not going to come around. You know what I mean? So I found this interesting because I was thinking about my niece maybe asking me why I don't have kids. and the answer is like, I'm an incredibly difficult person. You know, it's all on me. And so I think that's the safe answer. If my sister's child asked me why I don't have kids, I would say, because I'm a jerk. Women don't like jerks. And she may say, I don't think you're a jerk. Well, you're not a girl I'd date. You know, it's different because, I'm not, not trying to impress you, I guess. Is that it? I don't know. But my point is that, I think that you went a little far in explaining it. You should have just blamed yourself and say, well, I haven't found the right one, and just let it go. Just let it go. It's like, you got to be real careful and make sure, it's like sometimes, you don't have to sit there and say, well, I want to spend time with myself. I don't like you guys coming up and asking me stupid questions every 10 minutes, and I can't stand kids, because that makes you look like a jerk. And that's the point. Your sister is right. You're going to be miserable by this decision. However, I don't think she has a right to tell you like how you should explain your life to her kids. If she the wise thing for her to do is sit down with her kids after that and explain to her your perspective of your perspective. I don't know if that makes sense to you or what, but holy cow, the world is full of assholes. All right. But you know what? When life hands you lemons, make lemonade. You got to grind so many fucking lemons. It's just grinding all day long. Bride calls off her engagement, attends wedding days later with her friends and family. I like this.
Wedding or a different wedding?
Stay tuned. I love this story. This is great. The show must go on. A bride recently attended her own wedding without a husband after calling off the engagement just days beforehand. Lindsay Slater, 31, had been planning her August 17th, 2024 wedding for the last 4 years. Just days before the big event, Slater found out that her fiancé had cheated on her and she called off the wedding. Good for you. Good for you. Unable to receive refunds or cancel the occasion, Slater decided to inform her 60 or 70 guests of the party theme change and hosted it anyway. She told SWNS that at first she didn't know what she was going to survive the heartbreak. I was distraught. It was too late to go back on the wedding plans and all the money had been spent. She said that, noting that roughly $40,000 had gone toward the event in Nottingham, England. They accept dollars there? Why didn't they say pounds? With the money out the window and the party on the books, she rebranded the day as Freedom Day and chose to spend it with her close friends and family. I chose to spend the day with my close friends and family rather than sit at home and cry. Oh, it's terrible. Yes, good for you. Good for you. She still decided to wear her roughly $1,350 wedding dress. Oh, I guess they're converting it to dollars for my dumbass. And had a wonderful day drinking, eating, and dancing and throwing an epic party, she says. Can you scroll down the pics?
Give me a moment.
I mean, and after welcome drinks, lots of welcome drinks, Slater has said guests enjoyed a sit-down meal and dessert for the DJ with music at the reception. Looking at all the supportive faces, I felt a bit better, she told the SWNS. Slater added that having so many people show up to support her on that day made her confident about being independent. She said, I'm glad I did it. I really enjoyed the day, and I was surrounded by so much love. It really reminded me that I didn't need him. They reached out for comment and didn't get any. You know, people, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. She just is. She looks happy. You know, and that's the point. It's like, you know, you stood on your principles. Guy cheats on you. You've been planning the wedding for 4 years, and you find out he's been cheating on you. I admire you for dropping him. Absolutely. Good move. And I bet you every single one of your friends out there would say, hey, you did the right thing, and you're doing the right thing by throwing this party. The money's spent. Not a bad looking young lady. 31? If you scroll down a little bit more, it shows her with the DJ. Okay. But I mean, life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. And this is what she did. And I cannot express to you like how attractive that makes her. You know, it's like everyone, your heart's gonna be broken one way or another. We certainly hope it's not as epic as that. You know, planning the wedding for years and then all of a sudden finding out he's cheating on you, and then having the guts to dump him, and then you're like, well, this party's still going on, money's been spent.
You're having a good time.
Yes, I'm gonna go have a good time anyway. The money's been spent. We spent on this money. And so, absolutely, go out and have a good time. I hope she banged the DJ. I hope she hooked up with the DJ.
I mean, if you have a good time,
then. You know, because you're free. You have the guts. I mean, it's just, women, you have to understand, it's like, that is so attractive. A woman who has, like, principles to that level, that is so incredibly attractive. And, you know, it's heroic what she did. I love people. I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them all. It's great. This is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again that I have Patreon. Patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate it very much. You can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Follow me on social media at Denalitsaw, that's the word wasteland, spelled backwards, on Twitter. At SLRobbins13 on Instagram. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.